you feeling appropriately sinful? Depressed? You should. We're a fallen, broken, sinful people. But here's the good news. God, in Jesus, has risen. And that changes everything. Resurrection Sunday shows that Jesus rose again. God wins, death is defeated. And so this ultimate sacrifice, this huge price that God paid, pays off. Only imagine what Satan is thinking. He's got everybody under his control. He has won. The bet that he's laid has paid off, 1,000 to 1. And unfortunately for him, Jesus wins. Unexpectedly, but Jesus wins. Death is defeated, and that's just not possible in human terms, or even in Satan's terms. But it happens. Our Christian hope then is unlike the world's. Christ has risen. Leslie Newbigin, when he was asked, a great missionary, great theologian, was asked what he thought about the world. And he said, there's one phrase that describes my faith, describes the world, describes our Christian hope. Christ has risen. What he meant by that is God didn't stay dead. Death didn't have the final say. There's certainty, not a future wish going on here. The optimist hopes, wishes that the future would be different. A pessimist believes that the future won't be different. But a Christian says, no, the future is already different because Jesus has won. Death is no more. Life is ours. So it's not wishful thinking. It's a change in circumstances. It's a surety. So when a Christian talks about hope, they're not talking about wishing for something. They're not talking about thinking that maybe, somewhere, sometime, this will be better. They're saying it already is. Life has permanently changed. So our hope isn't in the future. It's in the here and now. It's not a quantitative change, but a qualitative change. Not that we're just going to get more of what we already have, but that it's all going to be different. As he told the thief on the cross, today you will be with me in paradise, in heaven. That's qualitative change in what happens. So Christ is risen supersedes all of the world's events, all of the here and now events, all of the things in the news events. What does that mean? Well, when the Romans killed this Rabbi Messiah, the disciples could come back and say, but Christ is risen. When the Nazis marched to war and killed thousands upon thousands and the world sat in despair, Christ still risen. And it changed everything. When we go to the ballot box and we push the lever or mark the ballot and our candidate doesn't win, and we come out of there in despair, we can have this sure hope. Christ has risen. And when the economy doesn't seem to be going quite as we hoped it would, quite as we wish it would, quite as even everybody is telling us it should, we need not despair because Christ has risen. God is in control. So why the sneakers? Because Mary straps on her sneakers. Mary straps on those runners and she runs from the tomb. And you can almost feel the excitement, can't you? It's palpable. Meaning you can feel it. You can touch it. You can hear it. You can smell it. You can taste all of this excitement. And all of the stones that maybe blocked her way on the way there, all the pathway that was uneven, that was an obstacle, suddenly she's flying over like Superman. She's flying over the obstacles of life like a man with a cape. All because a man with a crown of thorns changed everything. Christ has risen. He is risen indeed. I want to read you a short story from a book called The Angels Were Silent. About that week. But it's not about angels. Not this story. And it's not really about Mary. Well, it is, but a different Mary. And I want you to hear the victory that was won. One of the first things I remember was my pappy waking me in the middle of the night, dressing me in the dark, all the time telling me to keep quiet. One of the twins hollered some, and Pappy put his hand over its mouth to keep it quiet. After we was dressed, he went outside, peeped around for a minute, then came back in and got us. We snook out of the house and along the woods path, Pappy toting one of the twins and holding me by the hand, and Mammy carrying the other two. I reckon I'll always remember that walk. With the bushes slapping my legs, the wind sighing in the trees, and the hoot owls and the whippoorwills hollering at each other from the big trees. I was half asleep, scared stiff. But in a little while, we passed the plum thicket. And there on the mules and the wagon, there on the quilt at the bottom of the wagon. And on this, they lay the young'uns. Pappy and Mammy gets on board and across the front and drives off down the road. I was sleepy, but I was scared. So as we rides along, I listened to Pappy and Mammy talk, and Pappy was telling Mammy about the Yankees coming to their plantation, burning the corn cribs and the smokehouses, destroying everything. He says, right low, they then took Master Jordan to the ripraps down nigh Norfolk, and he stole the mules and the wagon and escaped. Glimmerings of deliverance, lingerings of liberation. 6 decades later, winds still sigh in the tree, and the whippoorwills and the hoot owls still holler at one another, and Mary Barber's memories of living in slavery remain. The walk to freedom is never forgotten. The path taken from slavery to liberation is always vivid. It's more than a road. It's a release. The shackles are opened, and for the first time, freedom dawns. I reckon I'll always remember that walk, she says. Now let me ask you this. Do you remember yours? Where were you the night the door opened? Do you remember the touch of the Father who walked with you by the day that you were set free? Can you still see the scene? Can you feel the road beneath your feet? I hope so. I hope that permanently planted in your soul is the moment the Father stirred you in the darkness and led you down the path. It's a memory like no other. For when he sets you free, you are free indeed. Mary made her way down that path. She'd walked it before.